That fixes it. Hey, thank you so much, Hawkeyes. Oh my God. All right, welcome in, everybody. Hello, hello, welcome to the stream, guys. Today we're talking about the death, the inception, the birth and death of Ashes of Creation, the birth, the pseudo life, the half life, and then the death of Ashes of Creation. And the reason I want to talk about that today is because I think there's a lot of wild things out there being said about Ashes of Creation, and I mean the Discord has been on fire all weekend. A lot of people are rightfully pissed off, absolutely, and just generally upset. And I think that is incredibly valid. So let me just make sure. Yeah, are we good now, Hawkeyes? Everything's good. Appreciate that. So sorry, I'm starting a little bit late. I am. I perform certain functions for the community that I live in, and I had to go deal with something which was hilarious. I'll tell you about it later, maybe. Okay, all good now. Yeah, we're compiling shaders. So I've seen so many people jumping on the bandwagon of like hating on Ashes of Creation, and so many creators, so many saying, "I told you so, I told you so," and I think some of them are very genuine. Some of them are not. Some of them are accurate. Some of them are not. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about it, if nothing else for myself, because I'm someone who was hopeful about Ashes of Creation. And it's kind of funny. I've seen several creators who have, and I'm not going to name any names. And also, guys, there's like a million creators covering this. So if you think I'm talking about your favorite creator, I'm almost certainly not, unless it's me, in which case I might be talking about myself. But almost zero chance that I am, but I've seen people who were like, "Yep, I told everybody, I told them, I warned them," and then I went back and looked through their content, just picked one person at random, and they were positive on the game in every single video I saw. So it was kind of disingenuous, and I see a lot of that going on. I also see some people that were always kind of doom and gloom. Hey, what's going on, Frog? What's up, Wampus? I also see some folks that are doom and gloom, or were doom and gloom about it the whole time, and they were like, "Yeah, we were right." And, very self-congratulatory. And you know what? Some of them might have certainly have many very valid points and stuff like that. And I do think that you need both sides. I just wanted to talk about it, though, because here's the thing.
Wait, and neither should you. Aleve can help you deal with pain less throughout your day. Whether it's
we're getting ads. Feet, what is going on? I don't know what's going on.
Pains,
we're getting YouTube ads.
Keep up when pain persists.
I don't know what's going on.
With longer lasting body pain relief compared to leading OTC branded pain.
What is going on?
With just one pill, Aleve lasts up to 12 hours. Don't let those aches hold you back from doing what's important to you. Use as directed.
I don't know what's going on. What? Guys, this stream accidentally sponsored by Aleve, apparently. I don't know what's going on. Literally didn't have anything up. That just started playing. I have no idea. Something is doing something in the background that I didn't tell it to do. All right, are we good now? Little commercial interruption here. Yeah, so where were we before the Aleve commercial interrupted us? Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, so here's what I want to talk about. So if you are a doom and gloom person and you just want to be right, okay? If you were to say that any game is not going to make it, pick any random game out there, it's not going to make it, it's going to have issues, whatever. What do you guys think your chances of being correct are? What do you think your average chances of being correct? Well, it depends on a couple of factors. One would be how long, right? Like how long has the business been in business? How long, what's the story? That's going to be probably like the major factor. What industry it's in is also going to be another major factor. Some are more high risk than others. For example, I want to say like mineral extraction, so oil, natural gas, but also any kind of like mining and stuff like that. That's all a sector. So that if you're in that industry, it's a little bit more risky. I think it's 25% of businesses are still in business after 10 years. If you're in mineral extraction. And this is based on the Bureau of Labor and Statistics here in the U.S., which currently you can still trust. Thank God. I don't know how much longer that's going to be true, but right now that is true. And, if you're talking about, I'm trying to think, there's other industries that are a lot less high risk. Okay, and it goes up to about a 50-50 chance at the 10-year mark. And here I'll link some info from because we're talking about facts, we're talking about info. We're not just talking about vibes here. And I think that's important. We are talking about vibes too, but I think that's pretty important. So if you're someone who's doom and gloom and you're talking about games, I don't. There is data available. I didn't go super in depth into looking up data. I know in indie games it's pretty bad, and also with big MMOs, especially by a company that hasn't made one before and what have you, you can imagine that the risk, the chances of the thing falling apart are pretty high. Not being in business, from its we'll call it inception, which I think a lot of times with video games and how long they've been made, a lot of times they're like, this game has been in development for like 10 years, 8 years, 4 years, 5 years. Usually it's so odd to me because I think there should be like a mark where like we started actually doing work on it. A lot of times though, developers will just like when the idea popped in somebody's head, that's when they started development, right? It's why for Elder Scrolls, right? The Elder Scrolls 6, right? It's been in development. I mean, I think, I don't know if we probably don't think it's happening at this point, but it was in development for like 6 years, and it was like, I don't think anything's actually been done on this. It was a vague idea in somebody's mind. Frog says it's common for MMOs to take many years, and most don't make that fact public. Yeah, 7 years I think is like the average development time, and I think that is generally usually don't have companies, starting from nothing to go into something. Oh, so is it a scam? Sobe Masking says, is it a scam? I mean, well, it's done now. Ashes of Creation is dead for anybody who doesn't know. And I don't mean kind of dead. I don't mean hyperbolic dead. I mean, it's DOA. It is, Stephen Sharif apparently resigned. He blamed the board, which I don't know about you guys, but I had never heard anything about a board before then. And maybe something changed, but it should have been a big announcement. But he had always represented it historically as he being the only person in charge and the only person with money. I'm sure they'll probably try to sell it, right? Because in theory it's maybe worth something, but it's still dead. If it comes back to life, it'll be resurrected. It won't be because it's still alive. So he resigned, and then a lot of the top management resigned, and then they fired everybody else because of that. It's according to Stephen Sharif. He had a comment that he posted. I won't link it. But the TLDR is the thing is done. So is it a scam? All right, to get to the point. So he's asking me to get to the point. Was it a scam? So there are a lot of games that people are going to be all over the place. Was it a scam? Was it not a scam? They're probably, it's not a simple question. It's not a simple question, so I can't give an entirely simple answer. I think that there is clear info that they were making a true attempt to actually make a game. I think that there's an overwhelming amount of evidence to that. I think if it was designed to be a scam from the beginning, they would have done different things. Does that mean that it was a scam all along, but whoever was in charge was just really bad at scamming? Maybe. Stephen Sharif made another thing, guys, about this. If you hear people talking about Ashes of Creation, talking about how much they know about it, because this is also, I mentioned this before a lot of you guys got here, but there's a lot of people talking about Ashes of Creation, and everybody has an opinion, and these people seem to be experts about it, and they keep saying Stephen Sharif, and they don't seem to know that the guy pronounces his last name Sharif. And if you don't know how Stephen Sharif pronounces his name, you probably haven't seen any of the live streams, and I question how much you know about the game. Okay, I'm sorry, just blanket. Okay, it's a huge red flag because there's a lot of people that are suddenly experts on the game. I am not an expert. I know, but I do know a decent amount about business more generally, and I can talk about some of this. And I've been doing this YouTube thing for a little bit, covering games, so I do know a little bit. Yeah. So he says the only way for him to lose control of the company is through selling equity. Yeah. And that's clearly what was going on. And there's some filings with the state of California in that regard. And so, yeah, they were like, they sold some shares, and they definitely try to downplay that. And there's also two different things about like what's legally what was happening and what was maybe not said explicitly. I think in some places said it felt like it was said explicitly, but maybe I was tricked into thinking it was the situation, but it wasn't. Frog says definitely definitely a lot of sus things surrounding this situation. Yeah. And I mean, I think the thing is with Steven Shreve, he made his money in multi-level marketing. If you don't know what multi-level marketing is, they are technically legal pyramid schemes. They are not good. They are a poor business model that uses and abuses people. And there are some that have been going for a long time, and I know I have friends that have worked and done stuff with them, and maybe they had a good experience. But as a business model, multi-level marketing is a legal scam as far as I'm concerned. Even if it works for some people, it doesn't work for everybody, and it's not a ethical business model. I've said that in the past, and it was my one of my biggest concerns with the game is that you're kind of putting all your all of us put our trust in Steven Shreve and said if he made his money that way, that's a huge red flag. So that was something coming in. I know that I actually got a hard time from some of you guys because I didn't cover and say anything about the Ashes of Creation, like early alpha access and stuff like that, even though I bought in, and people missed the window to buy in because I didn't say anything to them about it. And the reason I did that was because I didn't want to be promoting something that I did not at all. I knew that the money that I spent might just be going up in smoke, right? I paid like $250 or something for the game, $200 or something. And some of you guys told me, hey, let me make that decision. Tell me about it at least, because, I'm kind of counting on you to let me know the info that's going on. And I was like, okay. And so I did start covering it and talk about it. Yeah, $250 is a steal, right? And so I covered it a little bit and talked about it a little bit and tried to, give measured, what have you. Sobi says it probably wasn't a scam. They must have ran out of money and tried to cut some losses because the monthly burn rate, the writing on the wall was putting the game on Steam. Absolutely. Yeah. When the Steam thing happened, when they put it on Steam, it was it was a huge red flag. And they also, what Steven and the communications person, I forget her name, but everybody responsible. I'm putting them on. It wasn't their fault. I mean, it wasn't everybody besides Steven's fault. I blame Steven for sure. But it wasn't necessarily the rest of the team. Like, they weren't necessarily decision makers, right? As far as this marketing person and what have you. And I'm sorry, I forget her name. They made all these changes, and then they played it off like it was. They played it off like it was always the plan. Okay. I was driving with a friend once, and whenever I'm driving in a car, I tend to look at I shouldn't, but whenever I'm talking to someone, I tend to look at them. And apparently I do this even while driving. And when I was driving cross country, nobody on the road, apparently I started to do that and started to swerve. And then I just played it off by just changing lanes with no blinker. And he was like, did you just swerve, or was that because you were looking at me, or was that intentional? And I was like, I'll never tell, but that's what they did. That's the equivalent of what they did. They changed things up and we're like, oh yeah, everything's going great. Everything's launching on Steam. Everything's good. And try to play it off. And you know what? That's the whole marketing, is, hey, what's up, puppy balls? Yeah, and that's just the marketing of it, right? Like, they just, act like everything is, and a big part of this stuff is when you're trying to get investors and what have you. If they see any cracks, it's not good. You want to make the company look absolutely as good as possible. So there is part of this that is understandable, but there's also the part where, if Steven Shreve tries to make another game, and I bet he does, please nobody trust it. Please nobody trust it. It doesn't matter how supposedly honest and good intention he is. Please nobody trust it. But I don't think that Ashes of Creation was on its face a scam. When you look at games like Star Citizen, let's compare a couple of games. Datrix says 14 liens on a company is insane. Either it was blatant fraud or gross mismanagement. Yeah, are those liens? I don't know, man. Do you have some info on those? Because I haven't checked the latest news. Like I was mentioning before this, I had some unexpected stuff come up today. My day took a different turn, that's why I was late in starting the stream. So I didn't have a chance to catch up on the latest news. So if you got a link it for us. We can pull it up or whatever, Daedric. But yeah, there were clearly investors, and there were clearly people that had money, invested in the game. And apparently, some point, Steven was no longer in charge. There was a board that was actually in charge. And I don't know if they went to recoup their losses. I don't know if they went for a money grab. I don't know if it was something else, but I imagine it wasn't a money grab, because there are easier and better ways. To be honest with you, I think probably they were worried about stopping their losses and not losing any more. A lot of people seem to think that this was like a big cash grab. If you look at something like Star Citizen, well, we can compare a couple of games. First off, there's a lot of games that I can't even remember the names of most of them, but there's been actual scams, okay, guys? There have been games that people have put up on Kickstarter, said they were going to make, and literally no work was ever done. All the graphics they showed for the game were purchased really cheaply from markets where you can buy graphics. And they're like, look at this boss, look at this thing we made. Excuse me. And people have called them out on it and been like, that's purchased, like you purchased those graphics for $20. That's how much you paid for that. And literally didn't show anything else, but it was enough to trick people into thinking there was a real game there. And so those are what I would consider blatantly clear, pure scams, right? If you are going to do that, the best way to do it is to not have any overhead by actually having a building, not hire as few people as possible, which, there could be some gray area there with Ashes. But there's a lot of easier ways to continue the scam. Now, maybe you're going big, right? Go big or go home. And so maybe you hire some real people and you kind of do the Theranos model, right? Where you pretend like you're actually doing it and you kind of hope. And that's you could still say Theranos was a scam. You could still say Ashes of Creation in that aspect was a scam. But I honestly don't think so. I think that there were a lot of people that were really well-intentioned. Steven Sharif might be the best liar in the world, but I don't think that's the case. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. But I don't think that is the case. And I will also note, like, as I mentioned before, right, there are some number of people who, most of the time, most businesses fail, guys. Something like, so in the first 10 years of business, I think it's a 75% of businesses go out of business on average in the U.S. It might be like 65%. Don't quote me on that. The Department of Labor Statistics has we can pull it up here in a second if you guys want. Has the numbers, but it's not like it's a guaranteed. Another thing about this too is that most of the time it's incompetence. And gross incompetence, as many of my viewers have seen with Elder Scrolls Online, a lot of gross incompetence. It looks like it's intentional. It looks like it's a scam, and it's really just stupidity. It really is. It's not anything else. And I think it is. I'm not saying there's not some shady stuff that happened here or whatever, but I see a lot of people that are just like, yeah, it was a scam. I told you it was a scam all along. And again, if you just said that, if you just said a business was going to go out, it was never going to get made or what have you, you would be right like 3/4 of the time, almost certainly. So, it just happens. Another thing that also happens, and I just want to point this out, No Man's Sky. Man, I only have 24 hours in this game. I should play this game more. No Man's Sky, I only have it installed right now, is a game. I did not get into this early on. I did not back it on Kickstarter. I just didn't do any of that. I thought it was cool. I thought it was interesting. I didn't really get involved. I didn't really mention it, didn't really play it, what have you. Okay. And I streamed this, apparently not very much, but I streamed this in the last, year or two. And I had people coming into the comments they called it No Man's Lie. And they're like, oh, you're playing No Man's Lie. And they were still bitter about how the game started and its development process. And they were angry and pissed off about it, which, like, again, I wasn't here for any of that. So it's like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. You're yelling, you're an old man yelling at clouds at this point, right? Like, I don't know what to tell you. I can tell you though, No Man's Sky is actually a very fun game. And it is a complete game. Or you could argue, where completeness is, but it is a fully functioning game. it is actually quite fun, and there's a lot of really cool things in the game. Okay? Now, I could complain about it. I have critiques, and I've mentioned stuff. But I think it's also just an incredibly fun game. And people that are different than me enjoyed a lot more than I do. People still think and consider this to be a scam. I don't know what to tell you, right? So there's all over the place. You also have something like Star Citizen, which I genuinely think is an attempt to make some sort of game, but I think it's, again, gross incompetence, and I think it's a scam. I think their monetization model is scammy. I think it's unethical, and I don't think it's good, and I would not recommend anybody buy into it. And I have friends that have spent tens of thousands of dollars on the game, okay, which is crazy to me, but they got it to burn, so I guess whatever. The thing is, with all of these games, and the main, I still want to talk about this some more, but if there's nothing else you listen to me in here today, it's that you have to realize with all these games, guys, just like I did with Ashes of Creation, is that you got to realize that it may never come to fruition. You might be, whatever money you put into it, you might just be burning that money. And for me, I looked at this and I was like, well, this is a business decision. It's a big game. I hope it becomes this huge game. I was very positive about a lot of different things that they, were talking about with the game design. It seemed like there was a passionate creative team that also was very knowledgeable. Lots of great things going for it. But at the same time, I realized, it might also just crash and burn. That might be something that happens. Who's to say, right? And you have to go into these games and realize that is the case. And a lot of times, it's probably not going to, some of them are literal scams, but a lot of the times, if you do a little bit of homework, you'll avoid the literal, just pure scam, never going to do anything. We'll just try to string you along and steal your money, right? And the kind of scams you'll get are either ones that are maybe somewhere along the way they were really trying to make a product. They were just blissfully ignorant of what that was going to take, and it was never going to happen. Or more likely, with a lot of the ones, if you find ones that are actually trying to really make a game, is that it's going to be incompetence that feels like a scam, that is really going to be the problem and what causes it to fail. So he says, didn't buy any packages, though, was planning on buying a 2 package, but was disappointed with the delays and all the wrong direction. They were going to decide the game, to play the game on release instead. Yeah. I mean, great decision. Yeah. So I DM'd you the link that was compiled back in 2024 when they were releasing the keys for money. Okay. Oh, Steven's liar when he said that there were no investors. Oh yeah. Exactly. And alas, there were investors. Yeah. He acted like he was like, I'll self-fund it. He said I would self-fund it myself and I had all the money, and that, like, they said, oh, they might look into it, but he definitely, yeah. Internet Historian already made a great documentation about No Man's Sky. Yeah, Internet Historian, I'm pretty sure I've seen some of his stuff that has been disingenuous and incorrect. I could be thinking of a different one. Maybe I'm thinking of Internet wasn't there, like, I don't know, I'd have to look. But I've seen people that keep doing some disingenuous thing, which is really why I want to talk about this. There's a lot of people that are very self-congratulatory about what, they're like, I was right. This was a scam all along and I knew it. And you know what? I mean, I've seen some of them. And again, I don't want to name names because this isn't the point to, like, draw drama. But a lot of these people, if you actually look at their sources and look at what they had to say, like, one of them said, oh, employees said, warned us about this. And if you look at those employees, it was an intern. How much does that intern really know about what's going on at the company? They have their take on what it was like for this short period of time that they worked as an intern at the company. Now, we could learn some stuff from that, but I think it's a lot different than people quitting the company because they thought it was a scam and not going to work or so poorly run. Those are two different things, right? Like, and some people seem to be disingenuously, pretending like, they know what's going on or they knew it all along kind of thing. And I just don't think that's fair. So I think the real answer is that it's somewhere in between. When I heard about bots and people not getting banned in the game. I just knew that it's an inside job by Intrepid, and alas, Steven was indeed involved in some RMT and Ashes. Check Nice Gaming's post about it. Oh, okay. Yeah, we can pull them up. Yeah, Nice is someone who was covering it and what have you, too, which was cool. So what do we got here? So Ashship Creation is a scam. Here's some evidence. Intrepid Studios is suspended by FTB. There's something suspicious about Ashship Creation. The difference is that now we can see in documentation that something doesn't add up. This is a year ago at all, and that what better way to see it than on the financial level? Okay. It has several liens, bank loans, debts. These are essentially outstanding debts in which a company properties are linked liabilities. This can simply include loans, grants, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So what do we have here? So they have a screenshot of a bunch of liens that it has. Do we have other information on this? Let me see here. The worst of all is that Intrepid Studios seems to have recurring problems with the state of California. Right now, it's suspended by the FTB. This means the company is stripped of any power to operate. I don't know how they're managing, but from experience, they'll be using a doing business as or some other entity to get by. I haven't checked 100%, but I think one of these suspensions coincides with when they stopped selling skins, with the excuse that they were remodeling the store or something like that. The funniest thing is that they have been inactive since then. Okay, and then they've got another link here. Okay, yeah. And these are, I mean, assuming these screenshots are legit, which obviously we would want to look more into that to confirm. And you can go to these websites because they're public and actually look at some of this stuff. Jolan at Paradox Gaming Network would tell you otherwise, that Steven was lying about the game way back. It's not about the game being a scam, though. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's part of it. I think that there are some shady things that were going on. Otherwise, they wouldn't end up in this situation. But I think that's different than, again, there are a lot of people that are like, oh, it was a scam. And, when they started doing some of the funny business with monetization and selling more keys and they said they weren't and what have you, those are definitely some red flags. Let me see here. Curiously, despite the company being suspended since May, they have now requested reactivation last October. 7 years of documentation. Curious isn't they create those keys for access to the alphas, and now they're trying to fix their situation. Yeah, so it seems like they had some sort of financial issues going on here. So there might be some funny businesses. Oh, here we go, Steven's Pass. Another thing that did come to light in its day is Steven's relationship with Zynga, with the MLM. That means a multi-level marketing company. So that's the legal pyramid schemes that ended very badly. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Multi-level marketing, guys, just so you know, is big business, and there are a lot of people that have made a lot of money with them. If you've heard of Betsy DeVos, she was Trump's first term. She was the education. She was head of the Department of Education, and she made her money. Her family made their money, and still does with multi-level marketing. And in fact, they're not able to do business the way they used to do it because it was a pyramid scheme, and it still is. It's just a legal one now in the U.S. But what they've done now is they actually do that in other countries where they don't have the same laws and protections. So if you look up Amway as the company, or Amway Global, that's what it is. It's based out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. So and then they got all that money with scams and stuff, and then, as is true with a lot of people that make their money in shady ways, they pay for a children's hospital or something, and they do other things to kind of like wash their reputation. I know those people, they sold fruit juices that they said cured cancer. Oh, perfect. Okay. And the thing is that Steven has always said that he was just a salesman, that he wasn't the CEO or executive. That's true. Yeah, exactly. I mean, anybody who made their money in this way is I didn't know what the company was. They said it cured cancer. There are people that do get tricked and honestly think that it's an okay business model to do this sort of things. I don't think it is. I don't think it ever has been. I think it might work for a few people. but I don't think it's good. And okay, we have top 440 MLM income earners. Okay, is he on here somewhere? Do we have it highlighted for us? I'm looking. Steven. He's got to be on here, right? I don't actually see him. Huh. He's got to be on here, right? I mean, they wouldn't have linked this otherwise, right? Oh, they have by Amway, Breitbart, Amway. Oh, cool. This is like a third party then that's compiling this. Oh, that's terrific. All right. Yeah. More of it seems to run in the family. Okay. All right. Now we're going after his family. That's a little bit outside of what I want to get into. And then I don't know about this website that they're linking. Yeah, I don't know about all this. Like some of these, this is from like the Secretary of State of California, so I believe that. But we could also need to like look this up to make sure that all this is true. But definitely interesting and definitely a red flag. Number 13. Oh, thank you, man. I didn't see it. Oh, Sharon and Stephen Sharif. Okay. Interesting. All right, he was in it with one of his family members. Oh, man. Let me see here. Oh, he's got, you're talking about Jill at Paradox Gaming Network. He's got screenshots from a guild leader, Polar named DA. Okay. Yeah, do you have the link on that? So we could just pull it up? If it's not at Sobi, if it's not asking too much. Daedric says, I don't know what you're, or I'm sorry, Sobi says, I don't know why you're covering this when this has nothing to do with Ashes being a scam. When it's not a scam, cover the shitty things he actually did instead. Yeah, it's the same thing on Twitch. Yeah. Night Horror Gaming or Ed Night Horror on Twitch. Here, I can link for you if you want. Well, the title of the stream was it always a scam? I think that's what we're talking about, man. Oh, YouTube probably ate it because it doesn't like links. Here, let me give you a link on the Twitch. Yeah, or I guess that's why Daedric had a dia to me. Sorry about that, Sobi. 1 second, man. But I don't think it was. I think that we have someone who's used to probably doing some not great business practices. Someone who's fine with being a little bit. The other thing is that the people that participate in a lot of these things that sell stuff. This is a little bit depressing here, but it's been a while. But my mom died of cancer, and she had people that would tell her that acupuncturists, that for like the better for $700 a treatment they could cure her cancer is what people told her, and that kind of stuff happens. It's horrible. The people that are into these multi-level marketing, right? These legal pyramid schemes they tell themselves that they're not doing something wrong, right? Nobody thinks they're the villain. Rarely does anybody think they're the villain in their own story. And I think that is very much true in these situations, right? Like people who are doing all this stuff, in their mind, they're not actually doing something that's shady. And then the other thing is that the people that actually work at this company, the people who actually work for Intrepid, did they think I don't think so. I don't think most of them thought they were in a scam. I don't think they thought they were participating. I think they were trying to actually make a game. I think that the date for Ashes of Creation actually coming out in a way that made sense, and that was actually like a viable, MMO. And I mentioned this before, like, I think it was still 5 to 7 years out. Like, I think it was still a long ways out. And I just think that the money and everything else was the issue. All right, what do we have here? So this is screenshots from Nice Gaming. Awesome. Steven basically unbanned my RMT alts that got banned for selling gold. Oh, wow. Okay. Given the state of people raging right now, it might be smarter to let them cool down a bit. Okay, that's fair. I just removed you from the ban list. You gotta be a good example and reinforce this in your guild. No more exploit / character tracks the mules, etc. Okay. G2G money, and this wasn't even epic NPC sales / power leveling / accounts, etc. I knew it, this motherfucker. Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, he had me apply to other game studios and use them as a reference and would verify I worked for them in the past so I could leak NDA shit to them. You up. Okay, since you all were tinfoiling in the past, I can clear things up now. Yes, there was favoritism. Okay, there were X mods who would help with RMT as well. 6 hour slow mod, DM me for any sauce. Okay. Oh, man. So these are screenshots. These can be faked. I'm taking them at face value, but these can be faked. Daedric says if we're did I miss something? Frog says the devs clearly thought they were making a legit game. Yeah, exactly. Daedric says if we're being pedantic, you can't say whether this was a scam or not until the financials are completely out, as nobody has any clue where the money was going. It'll come out in the legal proceedings. Yeah, and I mean that is the case. Like, because clearly there was a financial problem. We know that. What had been going on before that. So the fact that Steven unbanned some bot accounts and told this person, if that is indeed true, they very much said that they would never do bot accounts, and they would ban, and they would, like, he was hardcore against it. So for him to privately be okay with it is like super not okay. That is like, don't believe anything the guy ever says, which is like, I think where everybody should be at right now, honestly. But you know what, guys, just FYI, when something like this comes out, so the thing to do if this were not true would be to sue this person. Just FYI. If this were not true, the thing to do would be to sue this person, because that would be slanderous. Another thing that people don't often understand about like slander in the US is that for something to be slanderous, it has to not be true. And a lot of people don't realize that. So you can't, if you try to sue someone, but the thing that they said about you is actually true, then you also can't sue them. It'll get thrown out. So why only Tanko and Thunder permit, and I guess I mean permaband. I heard a bunch in purple are RMTing as well. DA here says they just had too much money moving, and devs don't have any idea who's RMTing and who isn't. What all the guilds did, they proved favoritism too. I DM Steven about shit. Try to get people into PTR, public test realm, when they were letting other guilds in. Got ignored 99% of the time. Just me. Steven owed me big time. He had me apply to other game studios and use them as a reference so I could leak NDA shit to them. I was on the payroll for years. Yeah, wow. And it's also like funny too when you see stuff like this, because this person is like doing shady things, but now they're the person who's coming out and telling everybody how shady somebody else was. That's not a good look either. And if you ever go into like legal proceedings, that kind of stuff does come up. Around Alpha 2 launch is when the sign started to show. He started shifting ownership of assets and selling them off. Okay, interesting. I mean, that's just like them stating this, but I would maybe take their word for it. Daedric has a great point, though. I mean, we will see what'll happen, guys. Is that, and we don't know what happened, right? But there's a lot of ways of explaining this. I mean, it could be that money was taken out. It could be that he could have had money in the financial market and markets went down. It could have had money in something stupid like cryptocurrency, and that went south. Sobi says that's felony right there with all that spying on other companies. That's basically a confession. Yeah. Bro, you can just do math. Well, we don't know, man. We don't have all the math. We don't have all the actual, we don't have all the actual financials. a bunch of people keep pointing to like Secretary of State stuff, and I'm not like super up on this, but a lot of that stuff is just someone saying that, hey, I'm in line if this company goes out of business. The burn rate will tell you they weren't making any money. It wasn't that hard. A scam would mean Steven had money. Guess what? He didn't. Aside from the 2.7 million-ish they got from Kickstarter way back in 2016, for when they obviously already spent, the money they got from packages was never enough for the monthly burn rate. What do you mean he's got a great point? They have devs to pay. We do know how many people. Do we know how many people they had on payroll? I don't. How many people did they have on payroll? Do we have some data for that? Okay. All right. Later, man. I don't know. I think this is the problem, is that people get so heated and get so upset. I deal in the Pirate Software does. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Pirate okay. If he's got info, cool. He's got info. Maybe he does. Yeah. I don't really trust Pirate Software right now, to be honest with you. I mean, I would take a look if he's got some data and stuff like that. I'm sure some people have leaks and stuff like that. All right, man. Hey, you have a good one, dude. Oh, God. I think that there's a lot of people that have a lot of parts of information. I think screenshots of someone on Discord is like this. I'm glad he like linked this and what have you, and whoever linked this or what have you. But this is not like legal filings. This is not data. This is not financials and stuff like that. I imagine there are some people that know how many people they had employed. There are some people that just know, like, without providing facts or stuff like that. If anybody's looking for that stuff, I think anybody who regularly watches my channel knows I don't have those sources. So I won't be providing any info. I didn't follow Astro Creation that much and wasn't that into this. Sad, man. You had another conversation that could have been productive. Yeah, he probably put a bunch of money into AOC and is still upset. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think that the TLDR on all of this, just to make sure we aren't talking in circles here, is as Sobi felt like we were. I think the TLDR on this is that, unfortunately, it's complicated. I think the people that are saying that, hey, it was always a scam, and what have you, I don't think that's true. I don't think the game was always a scam. I think that there was a game here that was attempting to be made. I don't know when exactly things went south. I think the red flag, there were more red flags along the way. Like at one point, thanks, Sobi. Sobi, dude, I don't know why you're mad, man. I don't know why you're mad. I'm really confused as to why you're mad, man. There were points along the way where they had people, and Pirate Software did this a lot, which is why I don't necessarily think he's a great source, where they told them that, hey, if you join up and you get other people to join up, then okay, man. All right, dude. Well, I'm sorry that I'm not living up to your expectations, man. Have a good day. There were people that if you joined up and they would say, okay, if you get, it was a multi-level marketing, it was a pyramid scheme, and you got other people to like sign up that you would get a part of their sales, right? That's what Steven started to do. And that was like a pretty big red flag for me early on, and something I'm not all about, not interested in doing or what have you. And I know that, like, I think Pirate was really into that. I think that's why he had like such a huge group of people. And then they kind of phased that out. And to me, that was like a really good sign of like, this is stupid. Don't do this. This is not ethical, what have you. And that's one of the things that I was like, okay, cool. They stopped. It could have also been that they just didn't want to give away part of their company. And so they were essentially trying to, like, keep more of the pie for themselves. If they did, they realized there was like a more of an interest than they maybe thought for this style of game and more money to be had. The thing is, if Ashes of Creation could have delivered on its promises, and actually delivered a complete game. Even in the state it's in, I have several friends who are very interested in it and we're still enjoying it, and we're enjoying what they were playing. The thing is that the end state was so far off, and the development needed and starting up a company, it obviously was just a bridge too far. But I don't want to necessarily turn people off on this entirely. I just think that the takeaways from this, which is what's important, is that there are games like No Man's Sky. They're incredibly rare. They are not the norm. The norm, remember, if you picked any game at random, any business at random, the chances of it being alive 10 years after it started is less than a quarter, generally speaking. Okay, and especially with games and everything else, dude, why are you still here, man? Go away. I don't know why you're mad at me, man. I don't want to engage with you. You're mad at me. I'm sorry you're mad. I don't understand why. But have a good day, man. All right. The takeaway is that, your chances are, so if you want to be a YouTuber and you want to go and doom and gloom on any particular game, you can. And it, like, you'll be right most of the time. Okay. And that's why I think this is so hard and so confusing. And there's so many people that, again, are looking at this in hindsight and saying, hey, we knew exactly what's going on. Also, just to point out, just for Sobi, I don't know what else he said here, but Sobi really thinks that Paradox Gaming Network has a ton of information about this. And so if you're interested, go check it out. I've already read what they have to say, and I thought they had some interesting things to say. Just to give Sobi, the whatever support that he wants for this, go check it out if you want, guys. I didn't think it was bad information. I thought it was good information. I haven't fact checked all of it, so I can't promise you, but there you go, Sobi. Hopefully that was enough for you, man. But with all these games, if you want to be doom and gloom, you're going to be right most of the time. If you're negative on all of them, you're just going to be. And so at the same time, you got to realize that while I put the money towards Ashes of Creation, and I don't honestly feel that bad about it. I really don't. I don't feel that bad about it because I knew going in that I might be just burning that money. And for me, it's a business expense, so it's a little bit different than if it was me personally. If it was me personally, I wouldn't have put that money in. No shot. I'll just wait to a game. I'm actually, I think I mentioned this to you guys before, but I'm actually a late adopter. If left to my own devices, for example, Civ 7, I picked it up like 9 months after the game was released, right? And I wanted to play it. I was just mad about their monetization policy, and I wasn't happy about it, and so I waited. And I waited for it to go on sale because I was mad at them. And even if I wasn't mad at them, though, like, again, historically, if you wait, Dune Awakening, it hasn't even been out a year. I love this game. I think it's incredibly fun. I think it's perfectly reasonable to wait until it's been. It still isn't as good as it will be in another 12 months. Okay, or it'll die or something else. But you'll know what you're getting, and you'll be able to pay a lower price for it, and it'll be, But if you're and I think a lot of you guys are, but if you're someone like me, I like to support games. And sometimes in the past, even guys, and I'm talking working minimum wage jobs, I have wanted to support games, and I have put money towards games knowing that, like, nothing could come of it. It might not work. Nothing else could happen, whatever. And I did it. You want to try to be as informed as you can. And that's honestly a big part of when I'm talking about future games, I hope that I'm doing. And at least that's what I'm trying to do, is to be able to provide measured ideas and measured takes on all this stuff. And to say that, it's hard to tell. I think a lot of these companies are trying to make something most of the time. And, there are basic things you can look at if you're a business person. Honestly, like, it was a huge mistake on my part to look at this guy and be like, he made his money. Whenever I found out he made his money in multi-level marketing and a legal pyramid scheme, as I'll continue to call it, which I don't remember when that was, but it probably should have been more of a red flag. It was a huge red flag for me, and I was like, yeah, I don't know about all this, but it should have been even more. CoffeeZilla AOC episode will be fire. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Frog says, yeah, AOC had really cool concepts. If they could have delivered, I was going to jump in that dual classing dropped. So no hate, what was intended. David says, Steven is the new Logan Paul, billionaire scamming normal people. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty bad look. Logan Paul's up there in like dirt bags. But it's bad enough that, yeah, it's pretty upsetting. And for him to just bail and blame the board was like also pretty fucked up too. Same, always wait until at least first major patch. Yeah, talking about like being a late adopter. Yeah, that would be awesome. And what's really cool is like CoffeeZilla, a lot of people know, will like send him info, and he's like since he does like reporting and stuff, that would be really cool. It's gonna be like 2 hours long. It'll be like part 1 through 6 or something. Yeah, of like where it went wrong and what have you. Yeah. But my takeaway from all of this is like there are games that people still think No Man's Sky is a scam, and it's a game. You can play it. It's actually quite fun. It's more complicated than people think. And I see, again, a lot of people taking victory laps. And the reason I point this out is because I don't want people to feel like they're stupid for having ever supported a game. I hope that we take away my whole point in having this, which unfortunately I don't think that Sobi ever quite picked up on this. But my whole point in bringing up this, and talking about this is to kind of figure out like the takeaways and to realize that the answer is neither extreme. I think Sobi really wanted me to go to some extreme. I'm honestly really not sure what they wanted, but I think they wanted me to go to some extreme. And I think the answer in this case is much more complicated. There are some games where you're like, yeah, it was a scam all along. It was always a scam and what have you. And then there are games where it's like, it's just gross incompetence and what have you. And then there's most of stuff in between. Hey, Nani, which is it's just dirty, it's messy, it's ugly, and you just kind of, you don't know what's going on. But I think looking at things of, key takeaways for this, there's a lot. The red flags when they showed up, I think we all saw them, which was really cool, right? When Ashes of Creation released on Steam, that was almost ubiquitously, I think, a red flag for most people. Especially seeing the state that it was released in. It wasn't that just, a game being released on Steam in early access is a scam. It wasn't that. It was when it was released that they weren't following through with what we knew was the plan. And they acted like it was the plan, but it clearly wasn't. Saying they were done selling alpha keys and then selling a bunch more of them, that was also a red flag. And then kind of seeing the state of the game and one of the complaints early on was like, okay, they're doing some of these developments so they could put it on the live stream. I think that's valid, but some people were saying it was taking away from what have you. My issue is that stuff they showed on live stream never even made it into the early access. And it's like, if you showed it and you have it, why haven't you put it into the game? Clearly there were things behind what was going on that was preventing them from doing that. For example, the rabbit mounts that I was looking for, never could find them. I heard rumor of them, but I never could find one. And that was one of those things where they showed it on stream. It existed in some form in the game. I don't know what the deal was, but for whatever reason, those kind of things never even made it into the early access when there was a dearth of early access content. Rip Bunny Mount. I know, man. I know. Guess you got to play Guild Wars 2 from now on. Oh my God. That's a fair point. Maybe I should. Hey, Glenn, what's going on? So, I don't want people to feel bad if they put money into Ash. I don't think you should. I really don't. I mean, if you put a ton or if you feel bad about it, I'm not here to tell you not to, but I think it's pretty clear that it wasn't always a scam. I think that they were trying to make a game. Certainly the developers were trying to make a game. And if they can, if Steven could trick, if it was Steven, can't hear me at all? I think it's on your end, Glenn. If Steven, let's say he was scamming the whole time, right? If he was good enough to trick a bunch of developers into coming and working for him, presumably paying them something, and trick them into, working for him, then we stood no chance. Okay. It was very understandable that, Now's a great time to invest in AOC. Yeah, it's very understandable that we would be tricked. So I don't think anybody should feel bad about that. At the same time, taking away lessons from this of the issues, I think is also pretty important. Daedric says, buy the dip, sell coat for AOC too. Oh my God. There are people that are literally doing that. Can we just extract the bunny mount and leave the rest? That would be amazing. And if we look at games, like No Man's Sky, again, like No Man's Sky, for those who don't know, I just kind of reference this and I didn't talk about it very much. No Man's Sky was a game that was kickstarted, and they promised they would have infinite worlds you could discover, okay? In infinite mobs. They would have like new creatures on every single world, new plants on every single world. Infinite plants, infinite creatures, and you could go infinite worlds. Okay, you could go explore them, and it would be procedurally generated, and you could find something that nobody else found. Right? This sounds like vaporware, right? Does not like those claims just on their face sound like that's impossible, right? Here's the thing: No Man's Sky has those. That exists in No Man's Sky. They have creatures that are continually procedurally generated, and they're cool. It's pretty freaking cool. You can find unique creatures on unique worlds. You can find unique plants, and there's so much more to it than that. Like, it's an incredibly complex game, but it's a long time since launch, and it took them a long time, more than anybody thought, more than I'm sure they thought, to actually get there. And what the developers of No Man's Sky started doing after a while is they stopped talking to players. They stopped having as much communication because it was so toxic. And I honestly don't blame them. And so, again, part of the reason I want to have this conversation and talk about this is to say that, like, it's the middle ground, right? There's extremes on both ends that kind of get a little wild. And I know that people are still pissed off at No Man's Sky. They broke their promises. I believe that's true. I believe that they didn't deliver in the time they said they would, but they're still working on the game. They're still updating the game, and they're really cool updates. And it's not perfect, and it's still going to piss a lot of people off. But it was always it seems, by the fact that it is a good game, is that it was always well-intentioned, and they did eventually deliver, and they didn't deliver in the time frame or what have you, but it clearly seems like it's a case of somebody doing the best they can. And so we've got to figure out, and we just going with the simple statements of it was all a scam, it was horrible, everybody who fell for it is stupid, and why you're idiots, why'd you fall for this? That's just not the case. And it's the same with people that still feel like No Man's Sky, people still feel like it's a scam when it's clearly a fully developed game. And it's unfortunate. There is a middle ground. There are complete scams out there. We do need to ask questions. We do need to be good consumers of media and everything else, but I don't think it's as simple as like one extreme or the other. Ray says, I played for a year. I paid $100. Would have been cool if it did release. No regrets. I have Snap-on tools, DeWalt tools that I used once and probably just dies in my toolbox. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think Ray, that's a great, you just got to go into these things knowing that it could go either way. Yeah, I agree. To oversimplify, oh my God, the oversimplified discussion doesn't help the genre learn from this, nor push us towards getting new MMOs. Yeah, exactly. And I think that one of the things to talk more about gaming in general and MMOs a little bit more broadly is we know that it's really hard. We know that most companies, most businesses, let alone games that are very, like, they fail. Right? We know that. Another thing that has happened, and another reason we're seeing so many projects canceled right now, for guys who don't know, what happened with COVID is that everybody was stuck in their house, right? Everybody, and I know this is like COVID was forever ago, right? But everybody was stuck in their house, and that caused game sales to go up. It caused player populations to go up. And what happened is games companies and financial people were like, oh, there's a bunch of money to be made here. And so there was a lot of investment made. Now, we know as hardcore gamers or people that have, that watch. You're watching a gaming YouTuber, guys. I'm sorry to break it to you. You're more informed and a more intense player than most people. If you don't think that, I'm sorry. I'm here to break the news to you. What we know is that most games take several years at minimum to develop, even a basic game. And then MMOs average about 7 years, which you might not know that exact number, but it's a long time. And so if you wanted to really make a bunch of money and make the money off of that COVID hitting, you needed to be developing a game years before COVID hit, which is impossible. You need a crystal ball, right? And so that can't happen. But what happened with COVID is that people were looking at these numbers and they're like, wow, there's money to be made here. We're making money hand over fist. Because all of those games companies too, how much did their expenses go up when all of these new players started, playing their game? Very little. They already had the content they had. And so some of them hired more people and tried to make more content, but also a lot of projects got greenlit that wouldn't have gotten greenlit otherwise. And so what is happening now is that those numbers, which we all knew weren't going to last forever, returning to normal and have returned to normal. And the thing is that a lot of these companies, the projects, they had already spent a bunch of money, right? And so they don't care. Companies are generally very good. You have finance people that their job is they don't fall for the sunk cost fallacy. They don't care. They're looking at how much more money would we have to spend and how much money would we make starting right now. Yesterday is dead and gone. We don't care. We're not falling for the sunk cost fallacy. How much is it going to cost now? And eventually it gets to the point when the numbers keep looking worse and worse because more people return to going outside, is that they decide, well, it's not worth it anymore. And that's why we're seeing a lot of these projects get pulled. Now, there are other reasons as well. There's consolidation. There's other things. But that is a large part of what is going on right now and why we're seeing a shrinking of the industry. It doesn't mean that games aren't viable. It doesn't mean you can't make a ton of money. It just means that it's more risky. And the chances of them actually recouping their money are a lot smaller. And so they're pulling a lot of their funding. Frog says, yeah, I'm sorry, we already read that. Daedric says, I mean, if you bought into a game for its promises, they heavily under-deliver. They spend years to eventually get the product you originally wanted to buy. It would make anyone bitter. Yeah. Well, unless you have like rational expectations and they don't oversell, for sure. Which is like, I know that's asking a lot. Yeah. Glenn says, too bad for AOC, was something to look forward to. Yeah. Daedric says, No Man's Sky still getting called a scam is the consequence of for not being upfront about it being a work in progress. And then Frog says, XX are short-term thinkers. More news at 11. Yeah. And the finance people, I mean, this is like what they teach you in like basic finance classes, guys, is how to like value a project. This would be like corporate finance, like 101 or something. Yeah, they'll teach you this stuff. Yeah, I think that it's really hard for companies to promise what they can deliver. I don't know, man. That's a pretty difficult thing. I think that, but I agree with you. I think that you'll have the marketing people that tend to sell stuff, and they'll tend to oversell almost always, and vice versa. I actually, this is a little bit off topic here, but I think we're kind of winding down. I kind of said what I had to say, and I think we've hopefully had a bit of a conversation about this. I really got thrown off. I'm sorry. I shouldn't, but Sobe was very upset, and I still don't even understand what they were upset about. And it kind of threw me off because I really don't understand what I was doing that was so aggravating for them, because I think they were honestly aggravated. But trolls I don't mind, but I don't want to genuinely upset people. But, this has happened with ESO recently. I mean, this has been what, to talk about Elder Scrolls Online, recently they said hey, we're revamping, we're changing all these things. And what they seemed to promise was something that was impossible for them to do. I didn't think, not because it's truly impossible, but rather because I think it's impossible for them. Like, the company has proved that it can't do it sounded like they were claiming to do. Now, what I feel like I understand of what ESO is actually going to do is something that I think they can do. And so I actually wanted to have that conversation, but I think we'll have to wait and do that in a future stream. I'm unfortunately out of time today. Like I said, I had some unexpected stuff come up. So kind of a short one today. I just want to talk about this, but maybe on Friday. We usually do Monday and Fridays. We do these kind of chatting streams about game design. So maybe on Friday we can talk about Elder Scrolls Online and kind of the future of the game and where it's going, because I think I have a proper understanding. I don't know if you guys felt the same way. I'd be curious if you do. Some of you guys that often chat, let me know. But I have certainly felt like they were promising they were going to redo all the skill lines and everything else, and I feel like what they're actually doing is tweaking all the skill lines a little bit, redoing all the animations and most of them, almost all of them, and almost all of the audio, which is great. And then I think they're doing some other stuff that is, we could talk about more, but I think it's the main thing. And that's a lot different than what I felt like I was sold from the marketing department. But I don't know how these companies that are also starting for Scratch-Ager, to more to your point about No Man's Sky, I don't know how they can give an accurate estimate of how long this stuff is going to take them, because I don't think they know. And I think the best they can do is try to guess and try to be like transparent and upfront. I think that whatever happens though, like there's going to be some people on the extremes that are going to be not happy and super pissed off, and there's going to be some people that are drinking so much cope that they're the people that like unironically are like, Ashes of Creation is going to get bought by somebody else and turn into something great. And you know what? Maybe that'll happen, but right now that's a pipe dream. And there's some people that are like, no, it's going to happen. And like, Jadric says there's some rabid AOC defenders not even entertaining the possibility that Steven was leveraging the hype for self-enrichment is crazy. Yeah. Glenn says, hindsight 2020. I'm glad I missed the window. Yeah. I think there's a lot of hindsight 2020 going on right now. Frog says a lot of people are just vulnerable to this kind of exploitation, sadly. Yeah. Jadric says 2016 was a very different landscape for games. Nowadays, if No Man's Sky had the same marketing campaign, people would be okay with it being a work in progress when it released. Yeah. Well, I think it's really helpful for us to come to an understanding too. I think that this happens a lot, which is part of my job, I think, as a creator, is to, for example, Valheim, part of my job is to like explain and try to help explain like what is reasonable and what is practical, because I think that, again, it's a big part of it is on companies with not communicating excellently with their customer base, where they, again, I think Elder Scrolls Online just did it, right? I certainly fell for it. I thought they were redoing all the skill lines. Did you guys think they were going to really redo all the skill lines? Like really redo them? Like, am I the only person who had that? I'm not, right? I'm not crazy. Am I crazy? Tell me if I'm crazy. But I think that a lot of these games companies, they'll it's very easy to misunderstand them. It's very easy for the game company to overpromise. Not like Hardcore from scratch. Well, yeah, but I thought they were doing like some pretty, not like from scratch, but like I thought they were going to do some like really revamp the skill line so that each one of them offered an equal amount compared to the others for tanking, healing, and DPSing. Is that the impression you guys had? They never had the knowledge to do that. Yeah, I agree. That's why I made the video saying but I thought that's what they were telling us. And maybe they were, maybe they weren't. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I'm the idiot. It's possible. I've been wrong and been an idiot before. I will fully admit it. But I think with this stuff that it's just really hard to communicate. And I think you can do a good job and people can still not understand. And I think that the opposite is also true. It's kind of all over the place. But I think that one of the things that really helps, that kind of sounds like I'm just saying, hey, it doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do. I don't think that's really the case. I think that we can, that's part of what I do, is to try to read in between the lines, try to understand what a company can and can't do, and then hopefully provide that outlook to you guys and to share that with other people. But I think the education and understanding how games work and what the situation is, even when we don't like it, but just accepting like, here's the reality. Games don't release when they're finished. They release when they're finished enough. Stuff like that really helps set expectation. Their OG post with a classes description was so vague. Guppy, hey, what's up, Guppy? Guppy says they should just remove classes and have it be like Skyrim or Oblivion multiplayer. Frog says, is there an argument that classes is closer to classic Elder Scrolls design? Yeah, I would agree. But they've set expectations for a lot of MMO players. Yeah. Stop loss more likely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys, I do have to run. I want to talk more. I think there's more to be said, especially with ESO. As for Ashes of Creation, though, what we started with, it sucks. I think it sucks for a lot of players. I don't think anybody should feel stupid. I think this was an honest attempt at some point to make a game, and at some point they went off the rails. We could argue when exactly that was. I think we'll find out a lot more information. I'm looking forward to it. People with actual facts and actual info regarding this sort of thing. It is definitely dead. Please don't believe when people are like, maybe somebody will buy the game. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it matters if someone buys the game. If they have a different idea, it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort to reuse these assets in a way that's good. I think there was a lot of great ideas and a lot of great people behind the game, but I think what was going to be made, the possibility is dead. And I don't think you should hold on hope. Could something, rise from the ashes? I think that is possible. I think it's very possible, but don't get your hopes up, guys. And please never buy anything from Stephen Sharif again. That's my TLDR. That's my takeaway. That's my TLDR. Oh man. Yeah, appreciate it. Frog says cheers. Yeah, I'm sorry, Guppy. I know you just got here. Jadrick says the real answer to not being disappointed is to not buy a game until you're happy with the development process and they've earned your trust on the product. Absolutely. Daedric, like while I agree with you, I still want there to be a market for games that could come out, man. I do. But I do think we should probably buy more games that are actually made and complete. Yeah. All right, guys. This guy with the puns. All right, guys. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, guys. We'll be back. We'll be back later on in the week, and we'll be talking more about stuff. So we'll catch you guys then. Have a good evening, and thanks for watching.